Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. Got how the Packers complete the first midseason rebuild in NFL history. Let's check this out.
The Green Bay Packers have completed the first ever.
Yeah, we thought it was gonna take them a while to really get back into full form, but didn't take long at all. Jordan Love, you know what I'm saying, really started to come on in the later part of the season last year.
Roster in the NFL and coaching up another quarterback on his ascension to becoming another Packers.
This is what happens when you don't rush a rookie to start right away, bro.
They go on and do this.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers, they're the youngest team in the NFL, and the youngest team in the NFL to win a playoff game as well.
Yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys got exposed as gutless, heartless, leaderless playoff frauds.
Oh my gosh.
Frauds.
I was shocked at the beatdown. This was a beatdown. I'm gonna give them a final score.
You already know this nigga, Stephen A. Smith was happy about this shit.
6 minutes left in the game.
But how did they do this? How did the Green Bay Packers outcoach and outmaneuver the other 31 teams on the way to putting together another championship caliber team, despite the average age of this team being 25? Here's a timeline of how the Green Bay Packers completed the first ever mid-season rebuild.
Okay. The Aaron Rodgers saga begins.
The 2018 season was the beginning of a downward spiral for the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Following a 20-17 loss to the Arizona Cardinals, which at the time was their first ever win at Lambeau Field, marked that the Green Bay Packers had been eliminated from the playoffs for the second year in a row. And due to this would lead to their organization doing something that they had never had to do in their 100 years of existence: fire a head coach mid-season.
Wow.
Story happened just as we came on the air about 25 minutes ago.
Packers brought Mike McCarthy into me with Mark Murphy.
I forgot Mike McCarthy was their head coach.
McCarthy's career, he has publicly had a strained relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and it seems as though only 4 wins on the season combined with that. Well, that was enough for the Packers to decide to move on.
Offensive coordinator Joe Philbin coached the Packers through the rest of the season, which finished with an even worse record of 6-9-1. And headed into the 2019 season was the beginning of a new era in Packers history. After knowing nothing but the playoffs and Mike McCarthy for the past 12 years, the Packers welcomed in a new head coach.
Rodgers versus
It does look like the Green Bay Packers are the first team to strike. They have landed what appears to be their new head coach. They're set to hire.
Oh, he was with the Titans.
Aaron Rodgers just chose a pushover to be his next head coach. A pushover.
Once LaFleur was hired, many people were wondering, would this be a good fit for Aaron Rodgers and that offense? Because just 1 year earlier, after the team hired a new general manager in Brian Gutekunst, a new head coach was at the helm as well. Matt LaFleur was thought to be able to push Aaron Rodgers to another level to be an even better quarterback.
He will not be stomped all over by Aaron Rodgers. In fact, he will intellectually challenge Aaron Rodgers. I love this fit. I think this is a great one for him.
The greatest thing that he's going to do is, 1, he will coach the heck out of Aaron Rodgers. 2, he will not back down from Rodgers. When Aaron Rodgers was at his greatest, right, when he was dominating the NFL, was the bombs to Donald Driver, bombs to Greg Jennings, bombs to Jordy Nelson off the play action. That's what this offense is going to be. It's going to be very cutting edge, and I love the fit for Aaron Rodgers.
And I mean, I guess you could say he did that, and although the two wouldn't butt heads at the start of their relationship, things would soon begin to boil over. Coming into the 2019 season,
bro, look at how you looked at him, bro.
Things would soon begin to boil over. Coming into the 2019
bro, seeing Aaron Rodgers pissed off
is
always
special,
hilarious
but
to
had
me.
some key pieces in superstars Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams to help Rodgers throughout the season. To start the 2019 season as well, the relationship between the two looked like it was going well, as they would win their first 3 games. The Packers would score at least 20 points in each of their victories following a 10-3 victory over the Bears. However, in week 12, the Packers' kryptonite was revealed. This team, despite having one of the most high caliber offenses in the league, had absolutely no run defense whatsoever. Following that horrible loss though, the Packers did go on to sweep the division in
basically Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite in general being
Everything was looking up for the Packers with their new head coach and Hall of Fame quarterback quarterback getting along.
You
And
could
in the
basically
divisional rounds, the
say that
Packers would
in
beat the
general for the
Seahawks
Packers
pretty
because they did
handily
lose
as
to the
well.
Niners
But
again
then
last
the
year.
NFC Championship game would again get absolutely hammered by the Niners in their run game. I mean, it was just not a good look for the Packers. And all
When was the last time the
in
Packers
first
even
half of
beat the
game,
Niners, bro?
27-0, the largest in NFC Championship history. It was an absolutely disappointing way to end the season that nobody wanted to see. And headed into that offseason, it was pretty clear what they needed to do. Get Aaron Rodgers some help.
Can he be that guy that they can put this organization on his back and he can carry them to the promised land? I'm sure that's something that he hears and that's something that he feels and something that's going to catapult him this year.
Get Aaron Rodgers some damn help on one side of the ball or the other. I don't care. I'd prefer the wide receiver corps, but do whatever the hell you can to help this man because he deserves it.
They had a 27-year-old wide receiver in Davante Adams that paired with another wide receiver could really be that 1-2 punch Rodgers was looking for. And I mean, even looking back on that draft too in 2019, at the 30th pick, they could have landed a guy like Brandon Ayuk or even traded up to get someone like Justin Jefferson.
Damn.
But instead, the new GM had other plans and would do something that no one would see coming.
What did they draft?
With the 26th pick in the 2020
this
NFL
during
draft,
the COVID
the
era.
Green Bay Packers select
Oh, Jordan Love. Oh, yeah.
quarterback, Utah State.
Utah State.
Yo.
Drafting a backup quarterback and trading up to do so. What a wild move for the Green Bay Packers here, AJ. I'm not 100% sure what the hell is going on.
Hey, it might have, you know what I'm saying, looked a little crazy at the beginning, but it paid off at the end, though. You know what I'm saying? Because Jordan Love right now, he's showing that he can be a great quarterback for them, but hopefully, you know what I'm saying, he can consistently do it. So it was just 1 year.
World into an absolute frenzy.
This does to me, it signals the beginning of the end.
I mean, I was shocked, just like any else. You would think you're one game away from Super Bowl. So to me, it's like, let's try to go for it right now. Give Aaron Rodgers some weapons. Instead, they did just the opposite. You me?
Oh yeah, I know Tom Grassi was heated. Yo.
So Jordan Love shows a lot of potential.
The 2020 draft class would go on to bring some young pieces, but none more controversial than Jordan
this
Love.
draft class
And headed into the 2020 season after
bad,
the Packers
bro.
took Jordan Love,
Other than
Aaron
Jordan
Rodgers
Love
would
and
send a
possibly
message
A.J.
to the
Dillon.
Green Bay Packers and the
That's pretty
entire
much the only
NFL
good
that he
pieces
wasn't
they got
going
out of that
anywhere
draft class.
despite the team drafting his future replacement. I mean, even while looking at this roster around him, it was really just Rodgers, and outside of that, pretty bleak besides Davante Adams. But that didn't bother Rodgers. He even went on air before the season started and said that in an interview with NFL Radio, he feels good about his top 4 receivers: Davante Adams, Allen Lazard, MVS, and Jake Kumerow. Especially Kumerow, who Rodgers had raved about since the Packers signed him in 2017.
Jake Kumerow has been such a solid performer for us for the last couple of years. You know, I love his reliability. I think he's a fantastic, steady player, you know, who's very heady on the field. He makes plays. He plays with a lot of confidence. And, you know, he's a guy who you love having on the squad.
And what did the front roster do just 1 day later? They proceeded to cut Kumerow. It was almost as if this GM and the organization in entirety was sending a subtle message to Rodgers. And even despite all of this drama,
Bro, I would have been heated if I was Rodgers, bro. Right there, bro. Right then and there, we would have had a huge problem. After he just praised this man, you just gonna cut him, bro? Like that's
Aaron
fucked
Rodgers
up.
still managed to put together an MVP season unlike anything anyone could have imagined. And to add even more fuel to this fire, just before the trade deadline, Rodgers was asked whether they needed help on offense, which at the time it was reported they were trying to land Will Fuller, and Rodgers said, "We've had many conversations about this type of thing over the years. I truly understand my role. I'm not gonna stump for anybody because the last time I did stand up for someone, they ended up going to Buffalo." But yet again, despite all of this drama that has been building up to this point, the Packers still managed to have a repeat record of 13-3, clinching the 1 seed yet again. And in the divisional round, the Packers would completely outpace the Rams, never trailing once and winning. In the conference championship though, despite being 3-point favorites and having the home field advantage, the Packers
This was the
yet
year
again
that
would choke in the
Bucks won the
playoffs,
Super Bowl.
squandering another chance to get back to the big stage, falling to Tom Brady and the Tampa Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I mean, undoubtedly, the game had some questionable calls, like when LaFleur opted for a field goal to cut the deficit to 5 with 2:09 left, rather than going for it on 4th and goal from the 8-yard line. In moments just after the 31-26 loss to the Buccaneers in the title game, Rodgers questioned his future with the Packers, saying, "The Packers have a lot of guys' future that are uncertain, myself included." And after this NFC Championship loss, tensions between the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers would hit an all-time high. And yet again, with all of this drama being stirred up and nobody really knowing what was going to happen, the Packers yet again would send another message to Rodgers in the draft. In 2021, many people had thought that the Packers would go and grab a wide receiver, but instead of their 7 picks,
who's in the UFL
now, to hit on 3 of those picks in Eric Stokes, Josh Myers, and Amari Rodgers, while the rest have never started for the team. Oh, and on top of this, just hours before the draft would begin, Adam Schefter broke this story. And one quick thing before we start, I wanted to celebrate the recent success of watch some big money.
Rodgers has told certain members of the organization that he does not want to return to the Green Bay Packers.
It's okay to post these and show that I'm not concerned about the Green Bay Packers, that football isn't the #1 thing on my mind at the moment. And Aaron Rodgers understands what this looks like. He understands that people from the outside who have a perception of him of being the bad guy in this case are going to continue to believe that.
After all of these different stunts by the Packers organization and these draft picks, it really brought to the forefront of everyone's mind. Did the Green Bay Packers still even want Rodgers, or were they doing all of this to spite him in a weird way, or just preparing for him to leave? I mean, after passing up on the opportunity to not support Rodgers further and get him more weapons, the GM would choose to just roll with the options they had that season in MVS and Allen Lazard, after they both proved to be capable options behind Davante Adams. But even then, all of those guys still struggled with drops and consistency issues. And this would prove to be the case again in 2021, when key wide receivers would struggle to remain healthy and not be consistent outside of Davante Adams. Like, I mean, besides Adams, no wide receiver played the full season or even crossed the 500-yard mark. But yet again, the Packers would go on to win another 13 games and lock up the #1 seed. And Aaron Rodgers would yet again repeat as the MVP. Sadly though, even more heartbreak would follow as the Packers, in the most Packers fashion way, would lose yet again in the playoffs in the divisional round, following their bye to the 49ers yet again, where Rodgers would fail to even throw a touchdown pass. But there was one thing going on that not many people were paying attention to during the season, off-season, or even in the years building up to this point. Jordan Love was taking notes and developing behind this Hall of Fame quarterback, and I mean, every game, despite him being hated by Rodgers, was learning new things from him. No moment displayed this more than when Jordan Love got his first start that season versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Rodgers had tested positive for COVID, so the kid from Nevada finally had his chance to go prove why he was worth the Packers passing up on a wide receiver to help Aaron Rodgers instead of helping him to make it back to the big stage. And did he do that? Well, not really. Love completed 19 of 34 passes for 190 yards, threw 1 interception, and completed his first NFL touchdown pass to Allen Lazard during a 13-7 loss. But one thing was for certain, it did show us that there was a glimmer of hope once Rodgers had moved on. In that offseason though, major questions were being asked due to a pending contract that needed to be paid.
The boiling point.
He doesn't want to play under the franchise tag. He wants a long-term deal, something that is commensurate to, equal to, or above the DeAndre Hopkins extension.
I mean, it's $20 million plus that he's saying no to if he doesn't play under the franchise tag. Maybe he's trying to agitate for a trade. I don't know. But with Rodgers sticking around, we just assumed Adams would be there, whether it was a long-term deal or the franchise tag.
And after 4 days of refusing to not play on the franchise tag, the Green Bay Packers would do something that nobody would see coming.
Trade Davante Adams to the Raiders.
Davante Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers.
Let me say this. You know, I got to put it on Aaron Rodgers. I really, really do.
And like, I mean, it was fair to say that A-Rod had some strong feelings about that trade.
You know, it was a little surprising with Davante. Obviously, when I made my decision I was still thinking he was going to come back.
Once this trade had happened, there was a lot of uncertainty around A-Rod's future with the Packers, whether he would play for them or whether he wouldn't. Headed into the 2022 draft, the Green Bay Packers would make a huge splash in the draft, landing a solid linebacker in Quay Walker. But on top of this, there are 2 replacements for Davante Adams in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. But the scariest part though is although these wide receivers were great options for Rodgers at the time, those 2 would develop a friendship and bond with the backup quarterback Jordan Love unlike any other in the coming years. With the drama of Aaron Rodgers all season and whether he was even really invested in the season, it would really take a toll on the Packers all season long. And they would finish the year with an 8-9 record, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2018. All due to taking an L in the final week of the season at the hands of a surging and scorching hot Lions team. And following that season, just one day before the NFL draft, in the most Aaron Rodgers type of way, the NFL world would be put in shock yet again.
The birth of another Hall of Fame
breaking
QB.
News right now. Breaking news. Aaron Rodgers officially is being traded to the New York Jets. And it just came down moments ago in a trade involving 6 picks. Aaron Rodgers is going to the New York Jets. It's official. It is happening. Finally, after all this time, we've been waiting for this trade to happen. And now it is. And here are the details of the trade that just came down.
Breaking news in the NFL. The long-awaited trade of Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets is now completed.
That the New York Jets have agreed to terms on a trade for Aaron
Second round
Rodgers,
pick,
the
number
four-time
13.
MVP,
Second round pick,
goes
6th
from
round pick in
Green Bay
2023, and a
to the
conditional
New York
2024
Jets.
second
Honestly,
round pick.
looking back on it, it was a bittersweet day to be a Packers fan, as now they would no longer need to deal with the toxicity of Aaron Rodgers any longer. But at the same time, this would be the first time in over 20 years that the team wouldn't have a quarterback named Favre or Rodgers. In the 2023 draft, though, it was clear with A-Rod gone, it was time to get their new quarterback of the future some weapons. And although at the time they didn't look like major names in the draft, these guys would go on to develop into future stars on the Green Bay Packers. And even looking at the roster coming into the 2023 season, they had one of the youngest rosters in the league. And honestly, nobody really knew, were the Packers in the middle of a rebuild or were they ready to compete and win a championship right now? One thing was for certain though, not many people had picked them to win a lot of games.
I honestly didn't think they were going to be a playoff team at all,
right
bro.
in the middle of the pack, and
They
I mean,
shocked me like
they
crazy.
over deliver on that. In Love's first start of the 2023 season, he threw for 245 yards and 3 touchdown passes as the Packers beat the Chicago Bears 38-20. With that start, Love became only the 3rd different quarterback to start week 1 for the Packers since 1993, after Brett Favre and Rodgers. Everything wasn't always that pretty for this offense though, as they went through some growing pains as they failed to score a single first half touchdown for a 5-game stretch at the beginning of this season. And I mean, this was definitely on display.
They somehow won this game, bro. I do not know how the Saints gave up this 17-0.
18-17 win over the Saints. I mean, at one point, the Packers were trailing by a score of 17-0 in the 4th quarter. And that's when people really started to ask the question, how legit and how good is Jordan Love really?
When your quarterback starts flexing like this right here, all right, like now we've got an identity. Now we know, all right, look, we're starting to become a totally different offense now with that guy at the helm.
It's feeling it too.
I'm impressed with how well he's played, and he's doing it with all these young guys around
Jordan
him.
Love in the 4th quarter yesterday looked like Brian Gutekunst made the greatest decision of any quarterback that we've seen drafted here recently outside of Patrick Mahomes, because one, the ability to wait, but also be ready when time came.
And not only that, but did the Packers get themselves another Hall of Fame worthy quarterback? And to answer that question, Jordan Love made a statement on Thanksgiving Day. Love threw for 268 yards and 3
this was a big
touchdowns
shocker
to lead
too.
the Packers to a 29-22 upset victory over the Lions. I mean, like, look at
I honestly
some of
thought the
these
Lions
throws
were gonna
he
blow
was
them out. I
making
ain't even
in
gonna lie
that
to you.
game. It was very reminiscent of some former quarterbacks that the Packers had in the past. And like, I mean, nobody had picked them to win the game, not even the TV crew, because at the end of this game, they didn't even
they
prepare a
got the
turkey
wheels.
for them because they thought that they were so certain they were going to lose.
I
For
see
real?
Green Bay.
I see you going up by 17 at the half. I see you throwing a haymaker to start this Thanksgiving triple header off and shock the Detroit Lions and
Rich Eisen, he be knowing what he be talking about though. I ain't gonna lie. I fuck with Rich Eisen.
Finally was able to put on display what we thought that they were going to have and look like as an offense with Christian Watson as his #1 receiver.
Yep.
From the outset.
With that Watson combination, that thing is going off the hook now. When I see them two, I said, boy, I can't wait to see what that's going to be.
And after a victory in the last game of the season at home against the Bears, it would guarantee a berth into the playoffs. Love led the Packers to a 17-9 victory by passing for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns, finishing off his first season as the Packers starting quarterback with 4,159 passing yards, 32 touchdown passes against 11 interceptions, and completing 64.2% of his passes. Like, I mean, it was safe to say that the Packers' gamble on taking this kid out of Nevada in 2020 had paid off in sitting him just the 2 extra years, as they had done with their previous quarterback in Rodgers, seemed to pay off. But now, in the playoffs, was the quarterback's first big true test. Go into Dallas and beat the best defense in the NFL in his playoff debut.
Whoa. Better than a bye.
I wouldn't say that, buddy.
Dallas. I think this is just because I think Jordan Love's good. I think he's going to be very good.
Not the
but it's his first playoff game. It's a road environment. His team's a heavy underdog. I don't see a scenario where not only the Packers win, where it's close.
And what did Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers do? Well,
they came out
despite
swinging.
Having the youngest roster with a weighted average of 25.5 years old in the NFL and the 4th youngest all time, would go on to become the first of the 4 youngest teams to ever win a playoff game. Like, I think what's the craziest part is 6 of the Packers' 11 starters on offense in that game were rookies or second-year pros. 15 of Love's 16 completions went to rookies or second-year players. The only offensive starters older than 25 were running back Aaron Jones at 29, left guard Jenkins at 28, and their right guard who was 26 years old. And like, I mean, this game was never even close. The Packers completely blew out the Cowboys and made the Cowboys look silly on their way to a 48-32 rout of them. And in the divisional round, they would have another tall task of trying to take.
They held their own though. Like they were, the Packers were in control that whole game until the final drive, with which the Niners were able to, you know what I'm saying, score on that drive, and then Jordan Love, thinking he's actually Aaron Rodgers, throwing the ball back across the middle of the field. They were like, what the hell are you thinking, bro?
Early in the game, it looked like the Packers would take down the Niners coming out of halftime. And
but they did a good job, though.
But in the 4th quarter, they failed to score a single point and would fall 24-21 in another heartbreaking playoff loss. But there was something different about this playoff loss that didn't come with the Rodgers-led Packers. Hope. The Packers proved that despite being the youngest team in the NFL, that having patience and trusting the process and developing players that they truly get behind is what has led to the overwhelming success of this organization for the past 20 years. Oh, and did I mention that in the offseason they went on to go and acquire this stud of a running back also?
Sources say that the Packers are expected to sign Josh Jacobs.
Interesting.
All in all, though, from having all of the drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers to now developing another potential Hall of Fame quarterback in Jordan Love, the future for the Green Bay Packers looks like one of the most promising in the NFL if they can continue to bolster this young roster. But I want to know what you guys think. How good are the Green Bay Packers with this upcoming year? Honestly,
I think they're going to be just fine, bro. You know what I'm saying? If they can continue to play like they did last year, they're going to be just fine. I don't know if
that's going to happen. I really do see them.
But they are in a crazy division in the NFC North with the Bears and the Lions, you know what I'm saying? But I want to know what you guys think, bro. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on post notifications and notify whenever I drop another banger video. We're on the road to 200 subs. Hope we get there for more banger NFL content like this. And without further ado, I'm out. Gang!